Alright, what is up? Hope you're doing well. Hope your Monday is treating you well so far, and welcome into week 5 of Fill of the Week. It's been 5 weeks already, man. Time is flying. Feels like I started this series just the other day or something. So I'm enjoying making these. I hope you guys are enjoying getting these lessons every week. And I'm basing these lessons on your guys' requests. So make sure you leave more requests from me for what type of fill you would want to see. It could be a specific fill in a song. Like, hey, you break down the fill at 4 minutes in this song and you just let me know what song it is. Or it could be a genre or a specific rudiment you want to see in a fill. Which brings us to the fill that I will be breaking down today, which is based on a rudiment. So this is a request from Brass and the Backbeat, who wants to see some kind of fill involving either the 5-stroke roll or the 9-stroke roll. And since I had the luxury of being able to pick between the two, I chose the 5-stroke roll this time around. So the 5-stroke roll is just right, right, left, left, right, or it could be the other way around, left hand lead, so left, left, right, right, left. I'm doing it with the right hand lead for this fill, and it's a pretty cool little fill. It also keeps the backbeat on 2 and 4, so it's kind of similar to what the approach behind the fill last week, where you keep the backbeat so you can really blend it in nicely into any type of groove, and it will really keep that groove going because the backbeat is still there. So either way, I won't hype it up anymore. I'll just play it for you guys, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you guys want to support me, and if you enjoy what I do, and you want to just help me out a little bit, make sure you check out my fill lesson packs, the 100 fills, licks, and chops lesson packs. I will leave a link to them right up there and in the description below, and I hope to see you in those lessons as well. So let us dive into week 5, the fill for week 5, using the 5-stroke roll. That's actually convenient. I didn't even think about that. So here we go. Alright, so for this fun little fill, I have 2 tips I want you guys to keep in mind when you're practicing it, because this is a pretty tricky fill. It can be deceivingly tricky to play, because there's a lot of different dynamics and just small stuff going on that you really have to get right for the fill to really come through and shine at its best. So the first tip has to do with that left hand thing that I'm doing, which is that I'm playing a soft stroke, so ghost note first, and then immediately following that up with an accent on my left hand as well. So you're doing 2 strokes with your left hand, so tap and slap, or tap and I don't know what you call it. I don't know if there's a name for that move or whatever, but it's a pretty tricky thing to get down, and it's very worth practicing because you can use that in a lot of different scenarios. It's worth practicing it the other way around too, so hitting the hard stroke first and then immediately following that up by a ghost note. It's a very cool way to kind of fill in the gaps a little bit more when you're playing busy grooves and stuff like that. Either way, for this fill, I'm doing that thing. So my suggestion for you guys to keep in mind when you're practicing that is, first of all, if you're not used to doing that movement, really break it down. Like, take it slow, just practice that movement on its own for a bit before you even start thinking about putting it together with the fill. So just practice that, doing a little tap, so it's more like you're using your wrist, but it's also very much your fingers for that tap. And then for the actual wrist stroke, since the 2 strokes are so tight together, you don't really have a lot of time to move your arm up and use your arm for that power. So you really have to get a solid snap, kind of like a whipping motion with your wrist for that the second stroke. That's a lot harder, so the accent. So just practice that movement of doing a little tap and then like a snap afterwards. So that little you really have to just kind of use the underside of your arm as well as a really tight kind of snapping motion with your wrist. You should be able to get that second stroke really solid without having to pull your arm far up. So practice that movement, get it into the fill, and make sure you get that right and you really separate the dynamics. You can also do, 2 ghost notes and no accent, or 2 accents and no ghost note, but it is going to change the way that the fill is perceived, and it's going to change the phrasing a little bit. So I do encourage you to practice that motion and see if you can make that happen. So the second tip has to do with what you're playing on your hi-hat, which is the actual 5-stroke roll. So you're doing right, right, left, left, and you're moving your right hand over for that accent on the stack or whatever cymbal you want to hit, or whatever drum or anything. So when you're doing those doubles on the hi-hat, since the tempo isn't necessarily that fast, but because you're playing 30-second notes on your hi-hat, those are some pretty fast strokes. So what I noticed when I practiced this and when I tried to get it down at a solid tempo, and I wanted to really be able to hear those doubles, really hear the 5-stroke roll, because again, that's what the fill is based on, right? So we don't want to miss out on hearing those. What I noticed was I really had to pay attention to how and where I hit the hi-hat for those notes to really come through, because again, they're pretty fast. They're 30-second notes, and you're playing doubles, so and you're moving your arm over. There's a lot of stuff going on. So what I would encourage you guys to mess around with is just kind of where on the hi-hat you're playing that. So for example, that could be with the tip of your stick on top of the hi-hat, or it could be more with the shoulder on the side. This is a more articulate sound, and this is a more kind of sloshy but a little fatter kind of sound. So depending on how you do your doubles, how comfortable you are with double strokes, and depending also on the type of sound you want from the hi-hat for this kind of application, and also the tempo and everything, just take your time, experiment a little bit, try different surfaces on the hi-hat, and just kind of try also different ways that you're doing your double strokes. Maybe sometimes you're relying a lot on the rebound, and maybe sometimes you're doing more of a push-pull kind of thing. Experiment and see. It's basically the goal is for you to get some 4 really solid strokes. You want to be able to hear each one of those 4 quick strokes on the hi-hat that's part of that 5-stroke roll, which happens 2 times in the fill, bear in mind. So it's important to get that right, because the entire fill, if those hi-hat strokes don't really come through, it becomes a little shaky. So if you can really nail that down, it's going to really bring the entire fill up a step. So that will be everything I had for you guys for this week's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, don't forget to request fills for next week's lesson, either in the YouTube comments or by sending me an email. Let me know what type of fill you want to see. It could be a fill in a song, or based on a genre, or based on a rudiment. Any ideas you have, I will gladly look at those, and I will make a fill lesson for next week based on one of those suggestions. Again, if you want to support me, don't forget to check out my 100 fills, licks, and chops lesson packs. So there's 100 quick little fill breakdowns with notation in each one of those packs. You can get them in the description below. And I will see you guys in a week from now. Also keep an eye out on my YouTube channel. There will be a lot of interesting stuff related to gear coming up this week. I'm going to do a lot of gear reviews and studio walkthrough and a bunch of fun stuff. So keep an eye out for that. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys very soon. Take care, have a great rest of the day, and a great rest of the week. See ya!